Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into linen sandals and tiptoeing past the sleepless Sphinx of Memphis, home to history's first overworked priestess who turned napping into an art form. Picture this, it's 1450 BCE and you're 12 years old, knee-deep in Nile mud, dodging crocodiles because someone thought stealing temple scrolls was a good idea. Spoiler, you survive. Barely. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm weirdly into time zones. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The air smells of sun-baked clay and donkey dung, your first memory. You're 6 years old, barefoot on a Nile riverbank, clutching a half-eaten fig while your mother arguing with a priest about your inauspicious birth chart. Turns out being born under Sirius, the dreamer's star, means you're destined for temple service instead of a sensible career like pyramid limestone quality control. Thanks, Cosmos. A heron squawks overhead as you're dragged toward the House of Life. Egypt's version of a library meets magic workshop. The head librarian, a man with eyebrows bushier than a pharaoh's fake beard, glares at your mud-caked toes. Children, he mutters, are why we invented childless deities. Your first lesson? Copying medical spells about garlic enemas. Classic. But here's the thing. Ancient Egyptian temples weren't all chanting and incense. Think more like a divine corporate office. Priests clocked in for 3-month shifts, bathing 4 times a day in sacred pools. You, however, prefer the bath behind the papyrus storeroom, a crocodile-patrolled stretch of Nile where you once lost a sandal to a particularly ambitious reptile. Archaeologists still debate whether temple pools really had croc deterrents or just really good PR. By noon, you're hiding in the shadow of a Thoth statue, nibbling stolen temple bread. That's when you hear it, the head priestess arguing about night visions with a merchant who dreamed of onions growing from his ears. Your fingers itch, not from the bread's questionable yeast content, but because you've been having your own dreams, vivid ones. Last week, you foresaw the librarian's wig catching fire during a full moon ritual. It did. You didn't warn him. No regrets. As sunset stains the river gold, you're assigned your first real job, grinding malachite for eye paint. The priestess in charge has a voice like a sleepy leopard. "Green eyelashes, please, Hathor," she says, yawning. Also hides hangover symptoms. You make a mental note. Gods dig multitasking cosmetics. But wait, mainstream history moment. Did you know Egyptian green eye makeup contained antibacterial copper salts? Smart. Less smart, their cure for nightmares involved swallowing a fried mouse. Your quirky tidbit? Temple cats often ate the medicinal mice, leading to some awkward pharmacist-cat standoffs. As stars prick the twilight, you sneak into the Dream Archives, a room crammed with clay tablets about Pharaoh's prophetic maps. One mentions a queen who dreamed of a floating lotus, then invaded Cyprus. Because symbolism? You're squinting at a hieroglyph of a snoring sphinx when, clang! The librarian's bronze-tipped staff nearly takes off your ear. "Out!" he roars. You bolt, still clutching a scroll about dream-induced agricultural policies. Later, curled in your reed mat, you realize something. The temple's obsession with sleep isn't just spiritual. It's the only escape from a world where the wine tastes like vinegar and the mosquitoes treat Nile Delta humidity like a 5-star resort. The Nile breeze carries the distinct aroma of goat sweat and crushed coriander, a scent you'll forever associate with destiny. You're 9 now, tasked with feeding the temple's sacred goats, though these mangy creatures are less divine messengers and more professional snack thieves. Today's target, your lunch bundle of honey dates, clutched in your hand as you dodge hooves and sideways glances from a particularly judgmental buck named Hotep. "Eat barley like everyone else," you mutter, pressing your back against a sun-warmed pillar. Big mistake. Hotep rams the column, sending vibrations up your spine as your dates go airborne. The goat swallows them whole, then belches a cloud of hieroglyphic script-scented breath. Scholars still argue whether temple animals were revered or just tolerated for their comedy value. But here's where it gets weird. Hotep's eyes, usually the color of mud, flash gold. He stamps twice. A breeze riffles your hair, though the air's dead still. Then he speaks, not in goat bleats, but in the voice of your dead Uncle Neb, who once tried to sell you a lucky scarab beetle carved from moldy cheese. "Child of Sirius," he intones, "you'll mend broken sleepers and outwit the moon itself. Also, stop skimming temple wine. Amen." You blink. The goat chews a wall tapestry depicting Ra's daily commute. Mainstream fact time, animals in Egyptian temples were considered living incarnations of gods. But records show most divine creatures just ate, slept, and occasionally bit priests. Your quirky addendum, a papyrus from Edfu lists expenses for goat therapy sessions where pharaohs paid to cuddle kids, the baby goat kind. That night, you're scrubbing ink stains in the scriptorium when the head priestess corners you. Her wig's askew, revealing a tattoo of Bes, the dwarf god of naptime. "The goat incident," she says, eyeing you like a hieroglyph she can't decipher. You're halfway through your story when a crash echoes from the inner sanctum. A novice has tripped over a ceremonial ostrich feather, spilling dream incense meant for tonight's oracle ritual. The priestess pinches her nose. "Fix this. Use whatever goat magic you've got." You stare at the shattered clay jar. The incense, a rare blend of myrrh and ground meteorite, is now mixed with floor dust and a suspiciously modern-looking beetle shell. Archaeologists still debate whether meteorite incense was spiritual or an ancient placebo effect. Thinking fast, you substitute stolen barley flour and a dash of lotus oil. When the priest returns, you're chanting nonsense syllables while waving a broomstick like a scepter. Miraculously, the oracle falls into a snoring trance and declares next year's flood season adequate, 610. The priestess raises an eyebrow but says nothing. Later, hiding in the granary, you find Hotep waiting. He headbutts your knee, then nudges a clay shard toward your foot. The inscription? A crude drawing of a bed and a star, smudged by goat slobber. You sigh. "If I'm so special, why am I on rat duty tomorrow?" Hotep eats the shard. The crypt smells like a mix of stale myrrh and the ghost of last week's fish offerings, a scent you dub divine desperation. You're hiding here because someone, read you, accidentally used a sacred libation bowl to soak your calloused feet. Now the priestess wants you to polish 300 ritual spoons. Hard pass. Cold seeps through your linen tunic as you slump against a sarcophagus labeled, "Here lies Merit, who died mid-yawn." Perfect. You kick aside a desiccated lettuce bundle, offering or ancient salad? Unclear, and sprawl on the floor. Distant chants drift down like a lullaby. Take your time, spoon enthusiasts. Sleep comes fast. Too fast. One moment you're counting cracks in the ceiling, the next you're floating above your body, watching an ibis-headed Thoth scribble equations on the wall using starlight. "Incubate dreams here," he intones, pointing to a spot beneath Merit's sarcophagus. "But add cushions. My tailbone's still sore from the Sphinx incident." You wake with a jolt, cheek stuck to a fresco of Osiris judging a nap-deprived baker. Your neck kinks like a badly coiled rope, but your mind buzzes. Scrawled in the dust beside you, a diagram of stacked reed mats, a copper bowl of steaming something, and a stick figure snoring under hieroglyphs that roughly mean boss-level ZZs. Mainstream history interlude. Dream incubation was real. Sick Egyptians slept in temples hoping gods would prescribe cures. But records from Saqqara suggest some priestesses dosed patients with sleepy beer first. Your quirky twist, one prescription for insomnia involved rubbing hippo fat on the feet. Spoiler, it attracted ants. As you study your dust blueprint, a temple cat saunters in, licks the diagram, then sneezes. Helpful, you mutter. But the cat's collar jingles, a sound that sparks an idea. Wind chimes, to mask the snoring of that one priest who sounds like a dying gazelle. You're etching plans into a wax tablet when reality barges in, literally. The priestess kicks open the door, her beaded necklace rattling like an angry serpent. Spoons, now. But you've got the look of someone who's tasted celestial coffee. What if, you blurt, we turn this crypt into a dream spa with oils and chanting playlists? She freezes. Archaeologists still debate whether incubation chambers were spiritual tech or ancient PR stunts. The goat prophecy, she says finally. Hotep's been vocal. Her eye twitches. Clean the spoons, then we'll discuss your nap cult. As she leaves, you pocket a chiseled dream charm from Merritt's coffin. The inscription, "Sleep now, pay later." Dawn breaks over Memphis like a dropped honey jar, sticky and golden and vaguely chaotic. You're standing in what will become the Dreamer's Temple, currently a patch of desert where scorpions hold shareholder meetings. The head architect, a man with forearms like sun-dried crocodiles, is arguing with his assistant about ceiling height. Higher, the architect growls, so the gods don't feel claustrophobic. Lower, the assistant counters, so we don't bankrupt the pharaoh with imported cedar. You clear your throat. What about lotus-shaped pillows? They stare. A vulture circles overhead, sensing career carnage. Mainstream fact incoming. Egyptian temples were cosmic metaphors, floors as earth, ceilings as sky. But workers' logs from Deir el-Medina revealed builders griped about deadlines like modern contractors. Your quirky twist, a scroll lists excessive pigeon sacrifices as reason number 7 for construction delays. The priestess arrives, trailing a scribe who looks like he's allergic to optimism. Approved budget, 500 deben of copper, she says. Also, the pharaoh wants a nap throne with ibex fur cushions. You blink. Ibex fur? He read your scroll about luxury dream adhesion. Don't ask. The architects resume bickering. You slip away to inspect the stacked limestone blocks, still warm from the quarry. Running your hand over the stone, you feel the ghost of a mason's chisel, and something else. A chip in the rock reveals a fossilized snail shell. Archaeologists still debate whether fossil inclusions were considered divine messages or just rock boogers. By midday, you're mediating a dispute between carpenters and the feng shui priest hired to align the dream chambers with Sirius. The central pillar must be acacia, the head carpenter insists. Acacias for coffins, the priest shrieks. We need tamarisk for positive cough flow. You solve it by suggesting pine imported from retinue, expensive but politically savvy since the pharaoh's new wife is Canaanite. Pro tip, ancient diplomacy often smelled like sawdust and nepotism. As workers haul a statue of Bess into place, you sketch your masterstroke, hieroglyphic sleep manuals on every wall. Not the usual praise raw drivel, but practical tips. If your dream features upside-down cows, drink less palm wine. For third nightmare recurrence, consult a priestess before noon. We nap after. The scribe assigned to carve these looks ready to drown himself in ink. "This isn't proper doctrine," he mutters. "Doctrine's boring," you say. "People remember jokes about drunk cows." He carves a tiny caricature of you being eaten by a hippo. You let it slide. Artistic license. By sunset, the site smells of sawdust and desperation. The priestess finds you arguing with a perfume vendor over lotus essence prices. "Why not use jasmine?" she asks. "Lotus blooms at night," you say. "Better branding." She snorts. "Since when are you a merchant?" "Since Hotep ate my lunch, and I realized spirituality runs on snackonomics." The vendor throws in free myrrh samples to escape your heretic haggling. As stars emerge, you test the first dream chamber, a reed mat under a hastily painted ceiling of Nut, the sky goddess. The priestess lights a cone of incense that smells like a campfire made of credit. "Well," she says. You lie back. A gecko scuttles across Nut's thigh. Somewhere, a worker sings an off-key hymn to Ptah. The mat prickles your neck. "Needs more pillows," you say. She chucks a cedar shaving sack at your head. It's lumpy, but effective.
The Nile's morning mist carries the distinct musk of crocodile breath and bruised ego. The snake cult of Sobek has arrived, their green-tinted robes hissing against the sand as they circle your half-built dream temple like vultures eyeing a particularly juicy corpse. Their leader, a priest with a shaved head and a live asp coiled around his bicep, jabs a bronze staff at your chest. "Your pillows block Sobek's divine bandwidth," he snarls. The asp mimics him, tongue flicking. You blink? Bandwidth? The sacred river of dreams. He points to the Nile, where a crocodile sunbathes with its jaws agape. Sobek's messages flow through the water. Your reed mats are clogging the cosmic currents. Mainstream history moment. Temple rivalries were vicious. Priesthoods competed for royal favor, land grants, and the best festival catering contracts. A stele from Komombo details how Sobek's priests once sued Hathor's temple for sunshade encroachment. Your quirky twist? The same stele notes the lawsuit was settled via ceremonial tug-of-war over a pool of crocodile dung. The priestess materializes at your side, holding a clay tablet of expenses. They want a dream tax, 10% of our consultation fees, and first dibs on holiday incense. You glance at the asp, which is now trying to swallow its own tail. Counteroffer. We'll name a cushion after Sobek. The cult leader spits, literally. A globule lands near your toe, sizzling slightly. Holy saliva or bad digestion? Unclear. 5 hummy dormice monthly. Silence. The asp stops mid-self-cannibalism. "Go on," the cult leader says, leaning in. You improvise. Plump, glazed in Delta honey, stuffed with pistachios from Retienu. Never mind that pistachios won't reach Egypt for another millennium. Geographic license never hurt a negotiator. The priests huddle, whispering. You catch phrases like crunch factor and sacrificial crunch factor. Finally, the leader turns, asp now perched on his head like a venomous hat. 7 dormice, and a written apology to Sobek's sacred sewage. Deal. The priestess waits until they've left to punch your shoulder. Where do you propose we get dormice? Our budget's tighter than a mummy's bandages. Relax, you say, recalling the infestation in Temple Storehouse number 4. We'll rebrand the vermin as free-range offerings. Add a story about them being dream messengers. People love lore. Archaeologists still debate whether temple taxes were spiritual or just ancient shakedowns. A receipt from Dendera lists 30 dormice as divine appeasement, extra crispy. That afternoon, you're knee-deep in rodent traps, using incense as bait. Hotep the goat helps by eating the first 3 catches. You're a disaster, you mutter, wiping honey from your elbow. But by sunset, you've got 7 plump dormice glazed in date syrup. Delta honey's too pricey. The priestess scribbles an apology letter to Sobek, adding a doodle of the god high-fiving a mouse. Diplomacy achieved. As you deliver the bribes, the snake cult's leader nods solemnly. Sobek is pleased. The asp belches. Back at the temple, you discover the dormice raid has consequences. The kitchen staff mutiny over stolen honey, forcing you to promise dream cakes for all. That night, you scribble a new hieroglyphic manual entry. When cults extort you, sweet-talk them with snacks. Theology's 90% pantry management. The priestess finds you licking syrup off a scroll. Next time, she says, bribe them with scorpions. You grin. Noted. Dawn arrives with the subtlety of a drunken tambourine player. You're crouched in the temple's wellness corner, a glorified broom closet stocked with hippo milk jugs and a suspiciously sticky jar labeled moon water, do not drink after Scorpio season. Your morning ritual begins, as always, by pouring curdled hippo milk into a ceremonial basin. The smell hits first, a pungent cocktail of wet grass and regret. For radiant skin, you mutter, quoting the priestess's dubious skincare gospel. Splashing the milk on your face, you try not to gag. Note to future self, invent aloe vera. Mainstream history interlude. Cleopatra famously bathed in donkey milk, but lesser-known texts suggest lower-tier temple staff used hippo milk for its exfoliating grit. Your quirky twist, a Memphis papyrus warns that overuse could lead to unwanted bovine kinship dreams. As the milk dries into a crackled mask, you turn to your confidant, a thumb-sized Thoth statue wedged between 2 cracked amphorae. His ibis head is chipped from the time you threw him at a rat. Look, you whisper, I know the priestess said this milk channels lunar vitality, but I'm 80% sure she's pranking me. Thoth says nothing, as is his way. A shadow falls across the doorway. The priestess leans against the frame, nibbling a date. Complaining to the god of wisdom again. He's heard it all since the Sphinx lost its nose. You gesture to your flaking face. Is this really necessary? Yes. Also, the pharaoh's wife is visiting today. She wants a youthful aura. She tosses you a linen strip soaked in juniper oil for the texture. As you scrub off the milk mask, revealing skin the color of a startled lobster, you notice Thoth's left ear is worn smooth. Turns out you're not the only one venting here. Archaeologists still debate whether temple statues were believed to literally hear prayers or if priests just needed someone to blame for bad advice. The priestess inspects your face. Less youthful aura, more sunburned scribe. Use extra coal.
By mid-morning, you're blending moon water, a concoction of Nile silt and rainwater collected in lotus-shaped basins. The recipe insists it must be stirred with a baboon femur, but you've improvised with a date pit. Innovation under austerity. A novice priest scurries in, clutching a scroll. Emergency! The pharaoh's wife is early, and the ceremonial dream pillow has fleas. You dump your moon water into a fancier jug, toss in dried rose petals from last year's festival, and rebrand it as Hathor's Dew. The priestess watches, arms crossed. You're terrible at this. Keep going. As the royal entourage arrives, you're slavering the pharaoh's wife in hippo milk, explaining how it aligns her ka with Sirius's twinkle. She oos appropriately, though you suspect she's just here for the gossip. Later, scrubbing milk crust from the basin, you spot Hotep licking the moon water jar. His breath fods the clay. "Don't judge me," you tell him, "you eat bricks." He belches in Thoth's general direction, a fitting benediction.
The sky cracks open like a poorly fired amphora, raining embers and existential dread. You're elbow deep in date paste when the first meteor streaks overhead, a fiery scratch across Newt's star-dusted belly. The priestess bursts into the kitchen, her wig singed at the edges. "Ra's chariot is on fire!" she yells, which isn't technically wrong. Outside, Memphis is in chaos. A potter hurls his wares into the Nile as an offering. A baker kneels in spilled flour, shouting, "The bread gods are angry." Even the temple's sacred cats have formed a defensive huddle under a palm frond. Only Hotep remains unbothered, chewing a fallen meteorite fragment like it's a particularly crunchy fig. Mainstream fact drop: the Ebers Papyrus mentions a skyfire event in 1440 BCE, interpreted as Set's rebellion. But temple records from Amarna reveal priests often spun celestial drama for clout. Your quirky twist: a scribe's marginal note complains, "Third sky portent this month. Can't the gods text instead?" The priestess grips your shoulder, her nails leaving half moons in your linen tunic. Fix this before the pharaoh blames us for whatever this is. She gestures wildly at a man barricading himself in a beer jug. You squint at the sky. Another meteor arcs westward, its tail smudging the constellation of Sobek's toenail, or whatever that star cluster is called. Inspiration strikes, along with a pebble-sized meteorite that nearly beans your forehead. "It's not a disaster," you announce. "It's Ra's bedtime glitter." Silence. A goat brays in distance. The priestess blinks. "Glitter?" "Sure, Ra's tucking the world into bed, scattering cosmic sparkles to bless dreamers." You pluck a charred meteorite from the ground. See? Divine confetti. Archaeologists still debate whether ancient Egyptians viewed meteorites as sacred objects or just sky rocks that ruin harvests. A Theban text describes one being used as a doorstop. The priestess massages her temples. "Fine, but if this backfires, I'm telling the pharaoh it was your goat's idea." You spring into action. First, redirect the panic. Send novices to collect meteorite fragments, holy star seeds for dream rituals. Next, rebrand the event. Hire a blind harpist to compose Ode to Ra's Sparkly Siesta. Lastly, merch. Temple vendors hawk glitter amulets, painted pebbles, and starry sleep balm, lard plus ground limestone. By dawn, the narrative's flipped. Pilgrims line up to bask in the blessed debris field. A merchant from Abydos petitions to trademark Ra's glitter for a hair gel.
Even the pharaoh sends a note, "More glitter next time," signed, His Bedazzled Majesty. But the real victory comes at sunset. As you scrub meteorite soot from the dream chambers, the priestess tosses you a date. "Not terrible," she says, "but next apocalypse, maybe warn me before you call the wrath of heaven decorative." You catch Hotep licking a meteorite, his tongue sizzling slightly. Enjoying the divine snack? He belches a smoke ring. The complaint arrives via a clay tablet hurled at your head. Thunk. You duck just in time, the tablet embedding itself in a fresco of Hathor sipping wine. The merchant responsible is built like a beer barrel with legs, his face flushed the exact shade of an overripe pomegranate. "I dreamed of turnip demons," he bellows, spittle flecking his beard. "Your temple owes me 20 deben of copper for nightmare insurance." Mainstream history interlude. The Chester Beatty Dream Papyrus did outline ancient Egyptian dream interpretations. Seeing a cat meant good harvests, while dreaming of eating crocodile, well, that meant you had issues. But nowhere does it mention root vegetable specters. Your quirky twist. A fragment from Bubastis lists excessive leek consumption as a known nightmare trigger. The remedy? A parsley enema. Harsh. The priestess materializes, her voice sweet as poisoned honey. "Ah, Wepwawet, still blaming dreams for your bad investments?" He slams a meaty fist on the offering table, rattling the sacred ladles. "The demons were turnips with teeth. They gnawed my sandals and chanted rude limericks about my mother." You bite your cheek to stifle a laugh. Turns out the temple's nightmare insurance policy, a gimmick you invented during a slow season, has backfired spectacularly. Archaeologists still debate whether these policies were spiritual safeguards or Bronze Age grifts. A ledger from Abydos lists a payment of 3 goats plus 1 chicken to absolve a dream about disgruntled lettuce. The priestess examines the contract tablet. Says here we cover divine displeasure manifested through sleep. Your invoice mentions vegetable-based defamation. She arches a brow. Did you eat the suspect falafel before bed? Wepwawat pales. That's irrelevant. Bingo! You recall his stall near the docks, infamous for mystery meat wraps. "Let's consult the scrolls," you say, pulling out a blank papyrus. "Ah, here. He who sups on dubious legumes shall host a garden of terrors. Prescribed cure, a 3-day diet of sacred bread and," you pause for effect, "no profit margins for a week." The merchant's jowls quiver. "No profits?" The priestess nods solemnly. "The gods demand fiscal humility. Also, donate 5 jars of honey to appease the, turnip-tithing underworld bureaucrats." Wepwawat deflates like a punctured wineskin. Fine, but no more insurance scams. He stomps out, trailing the scent of rancid sesame oil. You wait until he's gone to burst out laughing. "Turnip demons? Really?" The priestess smirks. "Last month, he tried to expense a dream where Osiris critiqued his bookkeeping." She tosses you the contract. "Burn this, and send him the honey offering, the stuff that crystallized into brick last year." As you torch the tablet, Hotep trots in, sniffs the ash, and sneezes out a half-digested date pit. "Helpful," you mutter, scribbling a new manual entry. "When clients vex with veggie dread, blame their lunch, then take their bread." Theology's 10% guilt-tripping, 90% creative shipping. That night, you test the cure yourself, stealing a chunk of Wepwawat's confiscated falafel. The dough squelches ominously. You take a bite. By midnight, you're dreaming of dancing chickpeas singing a dirge about indigestion. The Nile's breeze carries a new stench today. Fermented figs and royal desperation. The Nubian king's barge docks with a groan, its hull painted with sleepy-eyed hippos, a poor omen. The king himself descends the plank, his gold-cuffed arms swaying like palm fronds in a sandstorm. His eyes are the color of overcooked lentils, and his crown tilts precariously, as if even his head is too exhausted to hold it up. "Where is the dream witch?" he booms, voice raspy from what you suspect is a decade of insomnia and poor life choices. The priestess steps forward, her smile sharp enough to slice papyrus. We prefer nocturnal wellness consultant. Mainstream history nugget. Egypt and Nubia had a complicated relationship. Trade partners, rivals, occasional in-laws. A steal from Abu Simbel boasts of Pharaoh's gifting Nubian kings 100 jars of sleep wine, though temple receipts suggest it was really just overpriced dates. Your quirky twist? A scribbled note in the Turin papyrus complains, Nubian delegates drank all the good beer and asked for nap recipes. The king waves a scroll, sealed with a wax hippo. Your dream spells. My scribes say you fix bad sleeps. He glares at a cowering attendant. Fix mine, or I'll start a war or a nap. You glance at the priestess. She mouths fig wine and subtly points to the king's belt, where a clay flask peeks out. Ah, the infamous Nubian fig wine, a liquid so potent it's rumored to dissolve copper and common sense. Your Majesty, you begin, we offer premium dream packages, basic, deluxe, and pharaoh tier, which includes a personalized lullaby by our in-house harpist. I'll take the secret wine recipe, he interrupts, swigging from his flask, and a lifetime supply for diplomatic reasons. Archaeologists still debate whether ancient alcohol trades were about pleasure or politics. A jar from Kerma labeled Diplomatic Reserve tested positive for date pulp and traces of crocodile tranquilizer. The priestess feigns shock. Our sacred fig elixir? But it's reserved for temple use? You play along. Only initiates of the Order of the Drowsy Ibis may. I'll give you 5 amethyst scarabs and a pregnant giraffe. Silence. A temple cat coughs up a hairball. The priestess tilts her head. 10 scarabs, and the giraffe gets dental care. Deal struck. You lead the king to the royal nap chamber, a glorified storage room hastily draped in lion pelts. Hotep the goat peeks in, chewing a tapestry of Sobek. You shoo him away, but not before he steals the king's sandal. The ritual begins. Fig wine, diluted with Nile water, don't tell him. A lullaby played on a recycled lyre missing 2 strings, and a dream pillow stuffed with lavender pilfered from the perfume stash. Why stars on ceiling? The king slurs, already halfway to Snoozeville. Helps the gods find your dreams faster, you lie. Real reason? You ran out of blue paint last Tuesday. He's snoring before the harpist finishes mangling him to the sleepy crocodile. You pocket the giraffe trade agreement, wondering where the temple will stable a moody ungulate. Later, the priestess samples the famed Nubian fig wine. 1 sip, and her face puckers like a dried plum. Tastes like a donkey's foot. You shrug, but now we have scarabs and a giraffe. Fair. As night falls, you spot Hotep leading the king's entourage on a guided tour to the dung heap. Diplomacy achieved.
The air in the temple archives reeks of dust and dashed hopes, a scent you now recognize as ancient bureaucracy. You're here because Pharaoh's new wife snores like a congested hippo, and her nocturnal symphonies are disrupting the sacred dream chambers. "Fix this," the priestess ordered, "or we'll be reassigned to mummify scarabs." Your salvation? A scroll mentioned in passing by a senile scribe. The Cure for Eternal Yawns, a poetic title for Shut Your Trap, Royal Windpipe. But finding it requires navigating shelves stacked with papyrus labeled Tax Records, Year 12, Turnip Yield, Disappointing, and Complaints read Drunken Sphinx Tour Guides. Mainstream history moment. Egyptian bureaucracy was legendary. The Turin taxation papyrus alone lists 300,000 laborers, their beer rations, and their excuses for missing work. Your quirky twist. A scribe's doodle in the margin shows a stick figure fleeing a pyramid labeled Team Building Exercise. You're halfway up a teetering ladder when Hotep butts the rungs, sending you face first into a basket of festival permits denied. A scroll tube rolls out, sealed with a wax ibis. Inside, instructions for a snoring cure involving crocodile fat, honey, and a chant to the god of silence, Harpocrates. Finally! But wait. The recipe's stamped with 12 bureaucratic seals. Each requires a priest's approval. First up, the overseer of sacred oils, a man who naps in a myrrh-scented hammock. You bribe his assistant with a fig cake, forging his stamp with a stolen signet ring. Archaeologists still debate whether temple approvals were rigorous or just stamp collecting. Next, the keeper of lunar syllables, who insists you recite a 200-line hymn backward. You mumble gibberish while Hotep eats his lunch. Approval secured. By dusk, you've hacked through 11 seals. The final one? The High Priest of Ptah's divine maybe, a man who communicates solely through eyebrow raises. You present the scroll. He squints, farts ceremoniously, and nods. The cure, a poultice of fermented garlic and lotus pollen, applied to the royal nostrils during the waxing moon. Simple, except the pollen's locked in the forbidden pantry, behind a tapestry of Ra judging a lazy farmer. You pick the lock with a hairpin, sneezing violently as lotus dust clouds the air. Returning triumphant, you find the priestess mid-crisis. Pharaoh's wife has ordered a snoring audit of the temple staff. Now or never, you hiss, sneaking into her chamber. The queen sleeps atop a pillow stuffed with peacock feathers, her snores rattling amulets on the wall. You slather the poultice under her nose, chanting, "Harpocrates, shut this beak, let her silence last a week." It works. The snores fade to a dainty wheeze. Victory! But dawn reveals a hiccup. The garlic poultice has dyed the queen's nostrils neon green. She loves it. A fashion statement, she declares, commissioning matching eye makeup. The priestess tosses you a bag of dates. Next time, skip the garlic. You nod, scribbling a new manual entry. When royals snore and bureaucrats nag, bribe, forge, and steal the temple swag. Theology's 30% faith, 70% creative paperwork hate. As you exit, Hotep trots by, trailing a scroll labeled Snoring Tax Proposal. You burn it. The horizon bleeds beige as the first sandstorm of the season rolls in, swallowing Memphis whole. You're ankle-deep in panic and grit, squinting at a papyrus someone's nailed to the temple gate. It's a client list, your client list, annotated. Pharaoh's cousin dreams of dancing cabbages, you read aloud, sand stinging your teeth. Merchant of Thebes pays extra for "Don't tell my wife about the nightmare involving a lotus dancer and by Sobek sweaty sandals." Mainstream history check. Confidentiality was sort of a thing. Medical papyri like Ebers advise discretion, but a Saqqara ostrakhan enlists a healer fined for gossiping about a patient's scorpion in unmentionable places dream. Your quirky twist, a scribe's journal from Edfu admits temple secrets are 40% divine, 60% blackmail material. The priestess storms over, her wig a sand-caked bird's nest. That rogue scribe Penpu is selling scrolls at the docks. She thrusts a crumpled note at you. He's including reviews. 2 stars, priestess's snoring disrupted my aura cleanse. You spit out a mouthful of grit. We need a forget everything spell, stat. Invent one and make it rhyme. People trust rhymes. The archives are chaos. Scrolls float in the sandy air like accusatory ghosts. You find Penpu's desk, empty, save for a half-eaten honey cake and a doodle of you being chased by winged lettuce. Charming. Hotep trots in, sneezing sand. "Help me find the memory dust recipe," you say. He eats a papyrus titled "How to Silence Enemies" permanently. Not helpful. Mainstream meets fringe. The Book of the Dead mentions a spell to forget sorrows, but a fragment from Amarna adds, also works on debt collectors. Archaeologists still debate whether memory alteration was literal or just priestly spin. You cobble together a chant from a love spell, a fishing hymn, and a kitchen curse. The final product. Harpocrates, shut their eyes. Steal this truth, replace with lies. Let their minds be clean as flax, and make Penpu trip in camel tracks. Testing it on a novice who read the scandal scroll, you burn myrrh and wave a cat toy, sacred sistrum shortage. He blinks. Wait, why am I holding this jar of beetles? Success. By dusk, you're at the docks. Penpu's hawking scrolls to sailors, his sales pitch peppered with your client's insecurities. Learn which vizier dreams of being a chicken. You release the chant, amplified by a stolen megaphone, a hollowed-out giraffe femur, long story. The words warp in the wind, becoming something wilder, older. The crowd freezes. A sailor drops his scroll. I forgot how to read. Penpu clutches his head. Who am I? Why do I smell lentils? Overkill. Back at the temple, the priestess surveys the damage. The fishmonger thinks he's a date palm. Fix it. You brew a reversal potion using temple beer and apology notes. It worked, mostly. Hotep belches, looking smug. You scribble a new manual entry. When leaks erupt and scribes betray, rhyme away, rhyme away, rhyme away. Theology's 50% lore, 50% stuff we make up mid-war. As the storm clears, Penpu stumbles in, begging for his job. You put him on latrine duty. Poetic justice. The Nile at dusk is a symphony of frog croaks and dubious fishing decisions. You're here to escape the temple's latest crisis. Someone replaced the sacred dream incense with powdered onion, but fate has other plans. A lopsided raft drifts into view, bearing a fisherman with biceps like twisted papyrus and a lute strapped to his back. He strums a chord. It sounds like a cat being stepped on by a camel.
"O jewel of the delta," he warbles, nearly capsizing as he stands. "Your eyes outshine the catfish I caught Tuesday." Mainstream history note: music was big in Egypt. Tomb paintings show harpists, drummers, and even clappers. Yes, that's a job. But love songs? The Chester Beatty Papyrus has lines like, "Her hair is the color of a starving ibis." Romance wasn't their strong suit. Your quirky addendum: a love poem from Deir el Medina compares a woman's smile to a well-organized granary. Smooth. He tosses a fish at your feet, a catfish, still twitching. A tribute. "It's still alive," you say. "Symbolizes my undying devotion." He plucks another dissonant chord. "I'll sing you the ballad of the three-legged crocodile." You're saved by Hotep, who lunges for the fish. The raft tilts, dumping your suitor into the Nile. He surfaces, lute held aloft, crooning, "Your love is deeper than the mud of Sekhmet's bath." Archaeologists still debate whether ancient love songs were metaphorical or just really bad at similes. A fragment from Akhmim reads, "Your lips are like, dates, sure." The fisherman, his name is Chenu apparently, follows you home, leaving a trail of scales and off-key serenades. That night, as you grind lentils, his voice floats over the temple wall. "O maiden whose brow outshines pickled onions." The priestess peers into your mortar. Lentils usually don't require that much violence. "He's insufferable," you mutter, "but useful. His uncle's a spice merchant." She steals a lentil. Flirt better. Chenu's courtship escalates. He leaves catfish on your windowsill, serenades your shadow, even tries composing a hymn to your elbows. Oh, hinges of the arms, smoother than a shaved baboon. Desperate, you consult a love spell from the archives. To repel unwanted suitors, bury a lizard under a full moon while chanting, but the instructions are faded. You improvise, burying a turnip instead and chanting, "Begone, lute boy, take your fishy ploy." It backfires. Next dawn, Chenu arrives with a turnip bouquet. The earth itself blesses our union. The priestess cackles into her beer. Mainstream meets absurd. The Harris Magical Papyrus does list love spells, but one involving donkey saliva and a scarab shell suggests ancient desperation. Your twist? A scribbled note adds, "If no scarab, substitute beetle. If no beetle, lie." By the next lunar cycle, you're hiding in a grain silo. Chenu's voice echoes, "O maiden fair as a well-salted ibis." Hotep headbutts the silo door. Trapped, you finally listen. The song's not terrible, if you ignore the lyric about your hair smelling like fermented mullet. Later, sharing stolen figs on the riverbank, you learn Chenu's secret. He's tone-deaf from a childhood incident involving a goose and a poorly timed hiccup. But music is the only way my heart speaks. You sigh. Maybe speak quieter. He gifts you a catfish amulet, a lumpy thing that looks like a date with scales. You wear it ironically, mostly. Midnight silence shatters with the clatter of armored sandals on temple tiles. A palace guard bursts into your chamber, his helmet askew, revealing a tuft of hair plastered to his forehead like a drowned mouse. "The pharaoh's sleepwalking," he gasps. "He's in the throne room drafting a declaration of war against Cyprus." You sit up, squinting. "Cyprus? We trade copper with them."
He says their king insulted his dream about a dancing donkey? The guard shoves a scribbled decree into your hand. It's stamped with the royal seal and smudged honey. Classic midnight snack diplomacy. Mainstream history nugget. Egypt and Cyprus were trade partners. Cyprus supplied copper, Egypt sent papyrus and grain. But a stela from Karnak mentions a misunderstanding involving a shipwrecked diplomat and a poorly translated joke about hippos. Your quirky twist. A Cypriot merchant's letter complains, "Egyptian envoys keep gifting us mummified cats. We prefer linen." The palace halls buzz with panic. Servants scuttle like scarabs, clutching oil lamps that cast frantic shadows. You pass a half-asleep scribe furiously chiseling death to, what's the hieroglyph for donkey enthusiasts? Into a clay tablet. In the throne room, the pharaoh paces barefoot, his night robe trailing. His crown tilts like a drunken sundial. And thus, he booms to an invisible audience, "We shall invade at dawn with," he squints, "attack bananas!" Archaeologists still debate whether sleepwalking was seen as divine possession or just nighttime pharaoh mode. A medical papyrus from Lahoun prescribes placing onions under the bed, a remedy that likely caused more tears than cures. The head priestess materializes, clutching a vial of emergency calm oil, lavender and regret. Fix this before he bankrupts us with imaginary banana armies. You approach, stepping over a discarded war strategy scroll titled Operation Pillow Fort. "Your Majesty," you coo, "let's revisit that dream. The donkey wasn't dancing at you, it was dancing for you." He halts, bare toes curling on the cold tiles. "For me? A sacred performance." You gesture grandly, mimicking the priestess's lecture on celestial choreography. The donkey's name was, Heptet, goddess of, rhythmic hoofwork. The pharaoh's eyes glaze, half trance, half confusion. So not an insult? A compliment. You steer him toward the hall, dodging a sleepy courtier who's absently bowing to a potted palm. Heptet requests you return to bed for an encore. He yawns, drooping. "But the bananas!" "They'll ripen by dawn," you lie. The priestess blocks a zealous general rallying troops with a ladle. "Stand down, it's a spiritual exercise." By the time you reach the royal chamber, the pharaoh's muttering about pineapple chariots. You tuck him in, slipping a cedar sachet under his pillow, a placebo labeled Divine Retreat. Hotep, who's followed, nibbles the pharaoh's discarded sandal. "Not helpful," you whisper. Morning reveals the crisis averted. The pharaoh, well rested, cancels the invasion, blaming overripe war metaphors. The Cypriot envoy sends a thank you gift, a copper figurine of a donkey. The priestess eyes it. "Cute. Next time, maybe suggest the donkey opens a dance school." You pocket the figurine, scribbling a new manual entry. "When kings sleepwalk and scribes scrawl, humoring beats a banana brawl. Theology's 20% right, 80% improvising through the night." As you exit, Kenu's lute twangs in the distance. He's composing Ode to a Barefoot Pharaoh. You let him.
The temple's storeroom reeks of cheap sesame and shattered standards. You're inventorying oils when it hits you. The sacred lotus vials are half empty, replaced by jugs labeled Premium Babylonian Dream Fuel, now 50% less sacred. Your head apprentice, a wiry teen with a tattoo of a snoozing Horus on his forearm, freezes mid-siphon. "It's economical," he blurts. "Also, Babylonians can't tell the difference."
Mainstream history interlude. Egypt and Babylon did trade more than insults. Cuneiform tablets from Mari mention Egyptian linen swapped for Mesopotamian sesame oil. But your apprentice's innovation smells suspiciously like a dockside hustle. Quirky twist. A Babylonian receipt lists 100 jars of Pharaoh's finest sleep serum as overpriced grease, but the customer wants mystery tax. You snatch a jug. Lotus oil takes a month to distill. This reeks like a fry cart. The apprentice shrugs. But sesame's 90% cheaper, plus it moisturizes. He demonstrates by slathering some on his elbow. Silky, try it. You resist, barely. We're a temple, not a bathhouse. Archaeologists still debate whether ingredient swaps in rituals were pragmatic or sacrilegious. A Hittite text praises Egyptian oils but adds, if unavailable, sheep fat works, maybe. News from Babylon arrives via a disgruntled trader. Your dream chambers there are innovative, he says, tactful as a hippo in a pottery shop. Clients report visions of bread ovens and an urge to snack. Turns out your apprentices added luxury touches, heated sesame massages, snack trays, and a loyalty program. 10 dreams equals free hummus. The priestess reads the report snorting. They've rebranded us as Ra's Spa and Sandwich Emporium. You confront the apprentices. Where's the sacred part? Sacred's subjective, one argues. Babylonians think ziggurat dust is spiritual. We're meeting them mid-delusion. Mainstream meets mayhem. A Babylonian contract lists dream services as divine naps plus light meal. Another client review complains, woke up craving falafel, 3 stars. That night, you begrudgingly test the sesame oil. It's not awful. The scent is nutty, warm, and faintly reminiscent of a Memphis street vendor's best flatbread. You drift off dreaming of buttered hieroglyphs. The priestess finds you drooling on a scroll. Well, it's moisturizing. By dawn, your apprentices have launched a sesame snooze marketing campaign. Hotep approves, licking a spill with gusto. You scribble a new manual entry. When spreading your cosmic brand, let apprentices tweak and bend. Theology's 10% divine, 90%, it'll be fine. The priestess tosses you a sesame cake. Next empire, maybe tone down the snacks. You nod, munching, but keep the hummus.
Alexandria's library smells of dust and borrowed time. You're hunched in a forgotten alcove, squinting at a papyrus titled The Immortal Priestess of Memphis, Cult Leader or Nap Visionary. Below it, a crude woodcut of your face, rendered with suspiciously goat-like eyes, adorns a dream pillow merchant's advertisement. Hotep's revenge, you think. The pamphlet claims your secret oils contained ground meteorite and crocodile tears. They got the tears right, yours from bureaucracy. Mainstream history note, Egyptian legacy did morph in the Greco-Roman era. Herodotus spun tales of dog-headed men and pyramid-building sorcery, while temples rebranded old gods as new wellness gurus. Quirky twist, a Roman graffiti in Philae reads, Egyptian priests overcharge for naps, undersell the truth, 5'10", would sleep again. You'd faked your death spectacularly, staged a crocodile accident at dawn, leaving only a sandal and a scroll declaring, gone to recharge my ka. Don't wait up. The funeral drew crowds and opportunists. Your apprentices sold authentic dream dust, painted sand, and last breath of the sleep sage, repackaged temple incense. The priestess sent a wreath of wilted lotus with a note.
Nice exit. Now fix the invoice for your fake coffin. But here, under Ptolemaic rule, your work's been boiled down to 7 steps to divine snoozing, scrolls sold beside love potions and horoscopes. A student nearby recites your famous lullaby to the god Bess, except the lyrics now include a plug for olive oil discounts. Archaeologists still debate whether cultural syncretism enriched traditions or just made them weirder. A papyrus from Oxyrhynchus fuses Greek astrology with Egyptian dream interpretation. If Mars retrogrades in your sleep, consult a priest, or maybe just drink less wine. You drift to the philosophy section. A scroll unfurls, revealing Plato quoting your old manual. True wisdom is knowing when to nap. He'd cited you as an anonymous sage of the Nile. Anonymous? You cough, a dusty, tired sound. Hotep would have eaten the scroll for that insult. Outside, the Mediterranean light fades. You've outlived empires, dodged deification, and witnessed your life become a footnote in a tourist's guidebook. Immortality isn't golden statues or whispered prayers. It's a merchant in Memphis still hawking Priestess-approved sleep masks made of recycled fishing nets. You close your eyes. The library's whispers blend into a familiar hum. The Nile's old song, the chime of wind through temple reeds, Kenu's off-key lute echoing across water. No divinity, no grand legacy, just the stubborn, sleepy truth. You gave people rest. A librarian taps your shoulder. "Closing time, grandmother." You smile. "Grandmother." Not a title you expected, but better than holy nap hag. The sea breeze slips through the library colonnades now, gentle as a sigh against stone. Can you feel it? That softness settling over your shoulders like linen dipped in moonlight. The day's edges blurring into something kinder, something ready to cradle you. Alexandria's whispers fade, the scratch of styli, the shuffle of sandals, the weight of centuries pressing on papyrus. They're not yours to carry tonight, not anymore. Picture the Nile instead, just as you first knew it, slow and heavy with silt, reflecting a sky smudged with stars. No priests, no scrolls, no turnip demons. Just water meeting darkness, the way dreams meet memory. That fisherman's lute, let it drift now, a single string humming low and sweet, melting into the lap of waves against the shore. There's no need to listen closely. It's only a lullaby the river has sung forever, for scribes and pharaohs and tired priestesses who forgot how to rest. Your breath deepens, doesn't it? Matching the rhythm of tides you can't see, but know are moving, always moving, beneath the hull of night. There's no more incense to blend, no more apprentices to scold, no more empires repackaging your peace. Just this, the quiet certainty that you built something soft in a world of sharp edges, something that outlasted gold. Let the library shelves dissolve into shadows. Let the metaphors unwind. You're floating now, not on the Nile, but on something older. The stillness between stars, the hush before dawn. No duties wait here, no prophecies, only the soft, dark weight of gratitude. For every dream you tended, every snoring king you soothed, every weary soul who found a moment's harbor in the chaos.
Feel the coolness beneath you. Solid ground? Or maybe the gentle give of a reed mat you knew long ago. It holds you. You're safe. You're done. The world spins on without your hands guiding it, and that's good. That's how it should be. Now let the last thought go, the one about legacy or meteorites, or whether sesame oil really moisturizes as well as lotus. Release it like a sigh into the dark. Nothing needs fixing. Nothing needs remembering. Just breathe and sleep.